You are not live.
Hello, hello, everybody. Hello. We are live. There's going to be loud banging and shooting and all sorts of things. Okay, probably not tonight, but tomorrow night, because it's the annual celebration of all things that go boom in America. The 4th of July, Independence Day. So of course we're going to do some. Well, we're not actually going to do any cocktails that are red, white, and blue. We're going to do a red cocktail, we're going to do a white cocktail, and we're going to do a blue cocktail. And hopefully have some fun while we're doing this. We've got music. We've done a series of tests of our audio quality. We're not sure how the audio quality is working. We thought we were going off of a mic. It turned out we were going off of the camera. So, yeah, whatever. Hopefully, the sound is better this time around and doesn't have quite as many dropouts, and Star doesn't come blasting through the mic while I'm sitting here with this little quiet, tiny voice that you can't hear because, well, I'm supposed to be the talent, I guess, is how this is supposed to work. What are we going to do this evening? We are going to do 3 cocktails, a red one, a white one, and a blue one. The blue one we've actually done before, but it's such a pretty color, and so many of the other quote-unquote blue drinks are actually kind of an off blue or green, so we're not going to do those because anytime you mix blue curacao and yellow pineapple, you wind up with green drinks, and that's not what you want for a blue cocktail. You want blue. Unfortunately, I should probably just talk about this later, but unfortunately, when you start to mix blue curacao with many things, the color gets muddied and you don't get this crystal clear blue that you want unless you're doing shots. And I just don't want to do like cutesy little shots. I'm doing enough mixing around of various things this evening. None of these are going to be straight up the way the original drink was made, so I'm just going to play around a little bit and we're going to have some fun. But since America is partying in various stages of partying, I know there are some of you out there that don't feel like America deserves a birthday party this year. Let's not be political. What we're going to do is we're going to start off with a toast. And the toast is going to be with Cotton and Reed, which is an American distiller. Hey, there you go. And this is their sherry cask strength rum, which was an anniversary rum, I think, of 10 years. Was it the 10-year anniversary, hun? Do you remember? 5-year?
It has been 10 years.
5-year? So 5-year anniversary, something along those lines.
But I don't know.
Yeah. So this is their sherry cask.
The sound is okay.
All right.
Can you hear Pooch louder than me?
Hopefully he can hear Pooch louder than her. Me? No, that doesn't work. I don't know. Whatever. So this is Cotton and Reed. We love Cotton and Reed. Unfortunately, I don't think we've been to Cotton and Reed since the pandemic started. Cotton and Reed, anybody from Cotton and Reed that's seeing this should not take that as an emblem that we don't like you. We just rarely, if ever, get into the district for anything these days. We've been to, I think, Archipelago a couple of times, but that's about it. So we do need to make a trip into Cotton and Reed at some point. We will do that. I see your posts. I comment on your posts on Insta, or at least I try to. So this is what we're going to toast with: is the Cotton and Reed.
We have Keith.
We have Keith.
Greetings.
Greetings, Keith.
David. Good evening.
Good evening, David.
Ruth. Greetings.
Yay.
Greg. Hi, Pooch and Star.
Hey, we're just like getting everybody.
Matt.
Hey, cool.
Merca. Let's drink.
Merca.
David.
Merca.
Include Puerto Rican rums. They be American.
Yeah, there's a Puerto Rican rum right there that we're going to actually use. Yes, in fact. Yes, that's the plan. We're to use whenever it says like a light rum, we're going to be trying to use Puerto Rican rums, and we're going to use the king of Puerto Rican rums, which is the Bacardi Light, Bacardi Superior, careful of chords and that sort of thing, whatever. Oh, there she is.
Hello.
I will. No, never mind. All right. I was going to ask her to go back and get some chilled glasses, but that can wait, or it can not happen, or whatever. I don't really care. In a totally unscripted format like this. Okay, it's not entirely unscripted, but it's largely unscripted. I mean, I have the drink recipes and some minor idea of how I'm going to talk, which is usually poorly, is the way it turns out. So I have nothing prepared for a toast other than, Let's toast to the freedoms we have,
Toast to the
to the
freedoms.
freedoms that don't need to be enumerated,
Oh, yeah.
that are inalienable to us,
Yeah.
and the freedom to voice your opinion one way or the other on how you feel. Still,
Okay.
how's that? There's still cause for celebration. The wood and the sherry come through on that so nicely.
Yeah.
I honestly think this has gotten better sitting in the bottle.
Mm.
I don't know how that's possible. It shouldn't. There should not be any additional aging. I mean, there's a slight bit of oxidation because you saw how much room there was in
Right.
that bottle. But I think that's even better than, or maybe it's just better than I remember, and it's
Accurate.
always been this good. Or my palate's been changed because, you know, I did go through COVID a couple of weeks back. So who knows what my palate looks like. You could tell what my palate looks like. I could point it out to you and go, "Ah," you know, into the camera, but you probably don't want to see that. All right. So what are we going to do?
Other comments.
We have other comments. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. I need a swig of water before I hear these
Ruth.
comments. Yes. Hi, Ruth. From Kansas.
Last night at the Monarchs game, they were featuring bomb pop cocktails.
Bomb.
Red, white, and blue layers.
Oh, right.
With
Vodka. Yep. Seen those done. Huh?
And it had
Usually,
bomb pop stuck in it.
It's like
looks pretty, not necessarily tasty.
Yeah, you'll see a lot of those that you'll layer like blue curacao and some vodka and grenadine, or usually it's the other way around because the grenadine's the heaviest of those three. It's a pretty layering. It's not a drinkable cocktail, near as I can tell. It makes a fine shot. I can't.
Matt says, "Yeehaw!" and I'm ripped on Melbeck.
Okay, all right.
Star.
Hey, Matt. So this is what happens when Gabby leaves the country, huh? Matt, you're going to be close to us soon. Yay! That's a reason to toast. DM us, talk to us on how things are going in that regard. We're going to be very, very happy to have you guys up here, sort of ecstatically happy. All right, what are we going to do? We're going to do the red to start with. That seems like a perfectly reasonable thing to do. It's not actually a perfectly reasonable thing to do because my raspberry syrup is in the fridge.
I will go get the raspberry.
Great. I'm like, wait a second. I thought I had everything out, and it turns out I do not have everything out here that I wanted to have out here. That's very silly of me. So what are we going to do for the red cocktail? So the red cocktail is actually a variation of a very old cocktail called the Clover Club. The Clover Club is named after a gentleman's club, and no, not that kind of gentleman's club, a suit and ascot tie gentleman's club, chartered in 1882 in the city of Philadelphia. And so this drink was named after that particular club. So earliest mentions of this cocktail are in the early 1900s. And by about 1920 or so, it had totally gone out of fashion. But it has come back into fashion in recent years and has become one of the International Bartender Association's classic cocktails. And so that's the Clover Club. And I've always wanted to make a Clover Club, but I never had raspberry syrup on hand. And it always seemed like it was such a pain to make raspberry syrup for like this one cocktail. Well, it turns out that the same people that make Coco Royale also make Raspberry Royale, and you can use that. It's essentially a raspberry puree. Well, it says raspberry puree infused syrup, which if you were going to do this at home and you needed a quick way of doing this, you could just throw some raspberries in a jar, in a container of some sort, and muddle them with some simple syrup, and you get a really fast raspberry syrup. In fact, that's probably what most bartenders did in the past, rather than make up batches of raspberry syrup. We're going to do a combination of both. We're going to use the raspberry syrup and some mashed up raspberries as well. Now, I think the Clover Club, the way I've seen it done before is it comes out kind of a pinkish color instead of a real deep red or bright red. And I want that brighter red. And so here's my variation on it is we're going to cut back the raspberry syrup just a tinge, and we're going to add some more red stuff in. Now, what is that red stuff going to be? Well, I tried this earlier, and I did it with the homemade grenadine that I have, and it's a very dark, it's almost a reddish brown. It almost looks the color of dried blood, which is not the color I was necessarily going for this cocktail. So we're going to go in a different direction. This is the first time I've made it doing it this way. And what I'm going to do is, if you remember last week, I featured a bottle of hibiscus and strawberry tea syrup. And we're going to use that to see if we can bring out more redness in this cocktail. It's a very simple cocktail, although it does involve sort of an advanced shaking technique because it has egg white in it. So here we go. Let's do a variation on the Clover Club that, at least for this evening's purposes, we're just going to call the red. All right, first of all, you need 1 egg white. I don't like to separate egg whites on camera because that's always a recipe for disaster. Here is 1 already separated egg white. So that goes in there.
Real with cheese.
There should be no cheese in this particular drink. Yes, that would be a Royale with cheese, not a Real with cheese. Was that Matt's comment? Yeah, okay, of course. Remember, Matt's into his Malbec already. All right, what do we need? We need a 1/2 ounce of raspberry syrup. So I'm going to take one of these. One of these being a jigger, right? We're going to go 1/2 ounce raspberry syrup. There we go. There's a 1/2 ounce of raspberry syrup. That goes right in there. I'm going to try and spill raspberry syrup out of the squeeze bottle all over my bar. That's not a feature. I'm going to reach in here. I'm going to take out some fresh raspberries. Just going to go with 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we're going to take a muddler. 1 muddler. We're going to squish these down just like that. You don't need to break them up too badly. This is just going to add a little fresher raspberry taste than if you just use the raspberry Royale. Royale. It's not Royale. Come on. Get out. Get out. Go. All right. Then we're going to add this. You can see this is already really kind of dark in color, and it comes out with the egg white and the foam kind of pinkish, so I need to brighten this up with a little more red. That's where we're going to go with the hibiscus syrup. Only a 1/4 ounce. You can use regular hibiscus syrup, or you could use something like this, the hibiscus tea syrup, something along those lines. This is really adding for color, mostly. It is only a 1/4 ounce. Star is laughing at something, so somebody must have commented something to make her chuckle.
That's how long we've been friends. He can spot a drunk Matt joke just on hearing.
Yes. Yes, indeed. There's no getting around that. All right, 1/2 ounce. But you don't have to be at work tomorrow, Matt. So, you got an entire day to recover from the Malbec hangover. So it's all right. There we go. 1/2 ounce there. I neglected to inform you what the major spirit is with this cocktail. And unlike many of the cocktails that we make, this is not a rum-based cocktail. I know, shock of shocks, this is actually a gin-based cocktail. We're going to go with a pretty clean gin here. I could go with the Sipsmith, but I actually pulled out the Blue Coat specifically for this. And we're, just a FYI, hun, we're somewhere between 1/3 and 1/2 on the bottle of Blue Coat. This is my way of saying, hey, at some point the Blue Coat will probably need to be added to our list of pickup from the ABC store. 2 ounces. There's 1 and 2. There you go. Those are the ingredients. So when you're using egg white, there's basically 3 approaches to getting the foam on the egg white. The first is to just leave it like it is, throw some ice in there, and shake the living daylights out of it, and treat it just like any other cocktail with a shake. Second way of doing it is to do a dry shake, which would be taking this with no ice in it, and lidding it and shaking it. And after you've built up a good head of foam, then put some ice in there for dilution and that sort of thing, and to chill it. That's kind of the traditional way of doing it. The third way of doing it is to do what's called a reverse dry shake. And here, when you're doing a reverse dry shake, you put ice in it, you do a normal shake, you strain out the ice, and then you do the dry shake at the end. And we have a little cheater ball around here somewhere that we're going to throw in to try and get really a pretty big head on this particular cocktail. We are in fact going to do the reverse dry shake because I just think the reverse dry shake works better.
Says, as a Philly native, I have to give a shout out to Blue Coat.
Well, see, Blue Coat is appropriate, right? Because the Clover Club is named after a gentleman's club in Philadelphia. So you use Blue Coat, which is a Philly gin. And what did I do? I totally left my ice scoop in the back. Oh well. All right. It's okay. If any of you have really good ears and you can detect the surf rock sounds that are going on in the background, you may be a little puzzled to realize that this is in fact Los Straitjackets doing the theme song to Game of Thrones in a surf rock format, which I just found ecstatically funny, and I had to make sure that I got this album in this particular song. Okay, so we're going to give this a shake with ice. All right, shaky, shaky. Here you want to get it cold. You want to get a little bit of dilution. And then we want to get this ice out of here. So how are we going to do that? Well, we're going to just strain it out because that seems to be the easy way to do that. So just pour this in here. That looks like a nice reddish color. All I'm doing is holding back the ice. Anything else that wants to get through can largely get through. Holding the gate, pretty far open on this. Far enough to where we get clumps of raspberry in there. Not ideal, but we're going to strain this anyway, so it's before we put it in the glass. That's not going to be a big deal. All right, this goes in the sink. So, Pooch, why do you prefer the reverse dry shake? Well, one of the reasons I prefer it is that the chance of having this explode on you is much smaller. You see, the whole way that this kind of contraption works is when you lid it up and there's ice in there, the ice causes the gas to contract because it gets colder, if you remember your high school chemistry classes, and that pulls these two pieces together. If you don't put ice in there, there's nothing to chill the air inside this container. There's nothing to pull these pieces together. And instead, what you have is egg creating a foam, which is an expansion, which really wants to push these apart. And so it's a really easy way to get egg all over you, and that's just no fun. So now that it's cold, though, we don't have to worry about that. So shake. You want to give this a good shake. Good shake. All right.
I saw them use the spring from the strainer.
Yes. So that's the other thing. If you don't have one of those little balls from like making protein drinks and that sort of thing, you can always take the spring off of your strainer and drop it in there. If you have multiple Hawthorne strainers, that's even easier. Or if you have like a bad Hawthorne strainer, save the spring from it because that'll work out really nicely. Okay, traditional glass for this is a coupe. We will grab that. Wow, I'm out of breath. That's kind of pathetic. I blame COVID and lack of exercise and general poor health, probably drinking too much, all that sort of thing. Okay, that's nice and reddish. I'm kind of liking that, digging that color combination right there.
Matt's comment on your shaking, it's got a good rhythm. I can dance to it.
Oh, Matt, we are so old, aren't we? All right. So when you're making a Clover Club, it has a canonical garnish, and that canonical garnish happens to be 3 raspberries on a skewer. But this isn't a true Clover Club because we've got the hibiscus tea syrup in there, so it's a little bit different. And we wanted to do something special for the holiday, right? So here's what I'm going to do. First of all, I'm going to take 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 drops of Peychaud's bitters, which are bright red. And then I'm going to take a skewer, like this one, and I'm going to be really silly, and I'm going to connect these dots, just as if you were drawing a star, right? So you're going to draw a star by connecting the dots of your bitters. Sometimes this works out better than others. This is not one of the times where it works out really, really well, but it looks vaguely like a star. You can expand the tips a little bit. There we go. So there's a little star in there. I'm not sure you're going to be able to see this. There's no real way to angle the camera to get that in there. And instead of, like I said, instead of doing the 3 raspberries, what we are going to do is a full-on red, white, and blue garnish. So what we have here is a raspberry, a gelatinized coconut meat, and a blueberry. And you like, Pooch, but you brought them out in a jar. What's with the jar? They were soaking in some sort of liquid. Yes, they were. And while the foam on here won't ignite and doesn't, you can't get a good meringue off of this. But for all of you people that are not in the celebratory mood for the 4th of July, I thought what I would do is give you a little moment of hilarity. And yes, indeed, for all of those that think the country is burning to the ground, here you go, because, yeah, I soaked these in 151. There you go. So the red, white, and blue up in flames. How's that? This is my red cocktail with a red star in it and some ignited fruit garnish there. That'll go out in a moment or two. That's my moment of hilarity. And here is the variation on the Clover Club. I'm going to go ahead and blow this out, mostly because it's really hard to tell. Yeah, it's really, really hard to tell when they're out. So I want to make sure, especially because of the gelatinous white coconut cube, it's really hard to see whether or not it's still burning. It is now out. And so I will now take a sip of the red, as I'm going to call it.
Bruce says, cocktail with a side of science. Looks very
Oh.
tasty.
Oh, that's good.
Matt says, why
Oh.
5?
5-pointed star. Right? 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? I mean, I could have done 6. I could have done 7. I think that's better than the original that you had earlier today. But I told you that one had sat for a while, and so was not quite as good. Yeah, see? There you go. Yeah. There's variation on the Clover Club. And it's got fruits in it that have been flambéed, so it's like cooking even, right?
Right.
Yeah, we cooked. Woohoo! I'm going to reach under here, grab this. We're going to reach in here, do this. Because looky here, there's always a little left for the bartender, right? So there you go. There's a nice red cocktail for you. And one that
I couldn't see the flames.
Yeah, the flames are really hard to see because they're 151. So they are alcohol flames, which means they are light blue, which is why when we're doing tiki drinks and we need flames, we tend to actually use lemon extract, which burns much more orangey in color and is much more pronounced. So, in contrast to the very light blue, pale flames, here are flames from the lemon extract, which is more usually used in tiki cocktails. See, now that's a flame. You can see that flame. And, this is in fact ready to clean. You can clean that. You can clean this.
Okay.
And then you'll often notice that the tiki guys will take some sort of shaker and they'll shake stuff over it like this, and you'll get sparks, right, like that. And if you do it right, you will burn hair off of your hand. Yeah, that's what I mean. But this will sit here and it'll burn for a fair amount of time. Makes a really pretty flame. Hopefully you can see that flame. I don't know if I move this. No, I should move it over here. I think it makes it a little easier to see. I have partial view of the camera, so I can kind of see what's going on. I should be really careful about this, that I don't light something else on fire here. But that's an immense flame as compared to what you saw from the fruits being on fire. So yeah, that's what we like to do with tiki flames. Next up, we're going to do a white cocktail. And we could do things like White Russians and that sort of thing, but a White Russian seems really like the wrong white drink to do for American independence. So let's see what else we can do. There are any number of cocktails. Oh, you know what I was going to do? I was going to take that variation on the Clover Club and I was going to put it on this little lighting thing here so you could see how red it was, but I didn't. Maybe at the end of the episode we'll whip up another quick Clover Club because Star seemed to like that a lot. Are you going to go out anytime someday? Maybe? I don't know. Looks like it's finally going out. This concoction has nothing to do with Lovecraft unless, I don't know. I mean, I guess there's maybe a chance that Cthulhu is a big fan of what? Where's that?
Sorry, I'm just being annoyed.
Okay. There's maybe a chance that Cthulhu is a fan of creamsicles, in which case they'll like this particular cocktail. But we're going to call this one the white, or we can call it a Puerto Rican creamsicle, because the creamsicle cocktail is traditionally made with vodka. I am going to put a little vodka in here. I'm going to put a little infused vodka in this cocktail. But we're going to go with a rum base for this instead of using something else for it. And this is, in order to get that white, really, really white color, there's really no other way that I know of than using heavy cream in a cocktail to really get that white. You can get sort of pale white or clear colors, but if you want white, you have to use some sort of milk or cream and then not mess with that color base. So that's what we're going to do here. We are, where's my heavy cream? I pulled my heavy cream. I thought I pulled my heavy cream. All right, well, we get the heavy cream. We're going to show you what else we got this week, because I'm totally giddy about this. I didn't even know this was out. You may know that in addition to being a great big geeky Lovecraft fan, that I am also, it's middle shelf left-hand side, okay. That I am also a huge Godzilla fan, Toho Productions, that whole thing. And so when Star discovered that they make a Ghidorah, King Ghidorah tiki mug from Mondo Tiki, I just kind of fell in love. It arrived.
It used to be on the dashboard of our car.
Yeah, we used to have a little bobblehead Ghidorah that sat on the dashboard of the car. We had it from 2004 because that was the 50th anniversary of the 1954 version of Gojira when it was out, and we saw the original Gojira at University of Kansas for the 50th anniversary. And soon after that, we bought the little bobblehead. We put it on the dashboard of the car. You don't really care about this. You want me to make a tiki cocktail. But look at this. This is so cool. And it's got even the tails on the back end. It's got the feet and the wings. It's just cool. Absolutely. It's just cool. It's also pretty big. It's not as big as the Tentacle crate barrel mug over here, which holds 30 ounces. But, you know, someday we'll get back into actually having parties where we can do communal drinks, and I'll dig out the bigger mugs to do that sort of thing with. But not right now. Okay, so what are we going to do? This is easy to remember because all but one ingredient here are equal proportions. So what are we going to do? We're going to do 1 ounce heavy cream. Heavy cream. There you go. Well, I better be careful with this because it turns out this is the same jigger that I used for the previous drink, which means there's red coloring along the side of the jigger from the raspberry. We don't want that in here, lest the white have red streaks in it, which would be bad. 1 ounce creme de cacao. You could use the brown creme de cacao, but that would kind of ruin the point here. It's here. I know it is. There it is. So use the white or clear creme de cacao when you're making this. 1 ounce. One ounce. 1 ounce of orange liqueur. Now you can use triple sec if you would like. That's what the original drink calls for, because triple sec is usually the cheapest of the orange liqueurs, and this is designed as a bar drink, just a sort of dive bar-ish 80s-esque drink. We're going to go a little fancier here. We're going to use Cointreau for this. You do want to make sure that you're not using something like the Pierre Ferrand dry curacao, which has an orangish color to it, because that will throw off your white color of this cocktail.
So Greg says, don't put the awesome mug next to the Godzilla mug because they'll fight.
Will they?
And Jolene says, very cool.
Jolene?
Yeah.
Hi, Jolene. It's been ages. Remind me to speak to you about a trip to Canada sometime.
And then a trip here.
And then a trip here afterwards, yes. So what you saw there was I did not have quite enough Cointreau to fill that, so I went ahead and added a little bit of the dry curacao. I don't think it's going to mess with the color too much, or really at all, given how little there was, but I did want there to be a full ounce of orange liqueur in this particular cocktail, because that orange and chocolate together you really, really want. Here's where we depart from the original. The original cocktail would just throw an ounce of vodka in here. We're not doing that. We're going to go an ounce of rum, but we are going to use an American rum, and we're going to use the king of American rums. We're going to use Bacardi. Bacardi White. This is a special bottling of the Bacardi White. I don't know that it's any different than any of the other Bacardi Superiors, except that it comes in this nifty little packaging, limited edition heritage pack. I don't even remember. Somebody talked me into buying this, and so I bought it. So we're going to do 1 ounce of the Bacardi Superior. I'm going to drop the cork on the floor. I'm going to rinse off the cork here. Put that back in. But it's a celebration, right? We're celebrating. It's a party, and parties require whipped cream or cake or something along those lines. And I do, in fact, happen to have a bottle of cake artificially flavored vodka. 3 Olives brand cake vodka. So since it's a party, we're gonna use this. We're gonna go a ½ ounce. You can tell I'm enthused about this. We're gonna go a ½ ounce of cake vodka to this. If you want to, you could just leave this out if you don't happen to have this, and why would you? Or you could, if you want the additional alcoholic content, you could easily just add regular vodka to this. It wouldn't be a problem. Or add whipped cream vodka or some other infused flavored vodka if you wanted to do something along those lines. If you wanted to add another flavor profile to this, I do have that mangosteen syrup from the other day, probably 2 weeks ago, which is white color, wouldn't change the coloration of this at all, but would add sort of a lychee mangosteen flavor to it. Not langoustine, mangosteen. flavor to this, and you would be perfectly fine with that. So we're going to go find the little whipping ball, wherever that was. It's over here. We're going to drop that in there. We're going to drop some ice in there. So we don't actually have an egg white in this, but we are going to get some foaming and thickening action from the cream itself, and that's why that ball is in there, is to accentuate that. So just take this, lid that up, and shake. Thirst. There we go. And we're going to reach in and grab a pair of Nick and Nora glasses, if I can find them. There's one, there's two. Two little Nick and Nora glasses. Nick and Nora, named after the characters from the Thin Man series of movies from the 50s, I want to say. I think, maybe. I have no idea. It's not true. I don't have no idea. I only have some vague idea of when those movies came out. Sir and I have seen several of them. They're amusing. There you go. This is a white cocktail. Definitely white cocktail. Little bit of foaming action, but not much. Oh, and we are not balanced by the amount that it went in here. Not at all. Oh well. This is why I'm not a pro. See, this would be problematic if I served one person this one and one person that one. That would be bad. Shouldn't do that. I am going to, because this is kind of a desserty drink, I'm just going to reach into this handy dandy container here, and I'm going to pull out a couple of mint leaves. There's one. I'm just going to lay that right on top there. And then we're going to pull this up a little more. We're going to reach in, grab another mint leaf, tear that off. Yes, the mint leaves have already been cleaned. It's fine, folks. And then this goes back down in here. Surprised how long my mint keeps in this kind of contraption. It's really is surprising. This is just a French press. This is just a French coffee press that has been repurposed for this, which I have a multitude of French coffee presses around. Okay, so there we go. This is the white, or a Puerto Rican creamsicle if you would prefer. And you could do all sorts of things with this in terms of zhuzhing up the coloration here. If you wanted, you could probably take some form of red syrup like grenadine and do stripes across it and do a red and white striping across it. If you could probably do the same with curacao, the blue curacao, I'm not sure how well that would work, and it might overpower the orange. Then might be overpowering in the cocktail. But here we go. Here is the Puerto Rican creamsicle. Oh. And it is like dessert in a glass. It really is. What are you thinking about this one, hun? So I'm going to give my grudging respect here that I think a quarter ounce of the cake vodka would have been fine, because I can taste the cake vodka in this. There's
the whipped cream.
No, it's actually it says whipped cream over there. It's actually cake. I use the cake, right? Because I have a whipped cream infused liqueur, not vodka, right? So my vodka is cake vodka. Which changes the drink a little bit. You don't get quite as much orange and chocolate off of it, but you get them in the background. You get this sort of orange chocolate cake flavor to it, which is, I mean, it's really nice. It's quite tasty. Is it
I'm not going to want to
is it balanced? No. Is it a dessert drink? Absolutely. Would you want a full one? No, but you notice I split it amongst 2 Nick and Nora glasses, and I think that's going to be about what we want for this cocktail. What do you think, hon? Does this seem like about the right level? As she upends the glass, right?
I'm not.
She did that with the Clover Club. Oh. Yeah, that chocolate and orange will just work really well together without either one overpowering. That's nice. That's nice. Okay, so there we go. We've got a red drink and we got a white drink, and now we need to do a blue drink. And we haven't been playing around a whole lot in the tiki realm, so we're going to go for the blue drink. We're going to go total on, full on tiki and do a drink called the Blue Marlin. Or actually, sorry, the drink isn't called the Blue Marlin. This is my blue drink, or the blue, and it's actually nothing more than a cocktail called the Marlin, which was created in, I think, the year 2000. So it's a pretty recent drink, about the time that there was starting to be much more interest in tiki again. The Marlin came out and is a riff off of some of the really early drinks like the Blue Dolphin and that sort of thing that used blue curacao. There were a number of cocktail competitions held when blue curacao first came out in Bowl's attempt to sell more blue curacao, and that's where we got a lot of these blue drinks. It tends to be that there's a lot of vodka because you don't want to mess with the color, and other clear spirits, a little bit of gin, clear tequila, and what's the other one? Dry vermouth tends to show up a lot in these kinds of cocktails. This one includes none of that. This goes in a completely different direction here, and we are going to actually build this in a blender tin and use the spindle blender to make this cocktail. So here is my beloved Waring blender over here. Not stick blender, spindle blender is the word that I'm going for here. Need to put that over there. So what goes in this? So first of all, we're going to start with our sweet components, and the sweet component of choice here is orgeat. So this is essentially an almond milk syrup, and there are folks that claim that you can make this by essentially buying some commercial almond milk and then adding some sugar or other sweetener to it, dissolving that in here. I have heard good results and bad results of that. Let's remember that most almond milks on the market are designed so that their flavor profile is actually closer to cow's milk. And as a consequence, you don't get the straight up almond flavor. I make my home orgeat, and it's thick, it's viscous. Despite the fact that I have it stored in a Torani bottle, it is not in fact Torani orgeat or Torani almond syrup. I make my own almond milk by food processing some almonds and hot water together, and strain that out and add some sugar back into that, or honey or something along those lines to get the sweetness back up, and you have essentially an almond syrup. This stuff is exquisitely good on ice cream, in coffee, those sorts of things, as well as being a phenomenally good tiki ingredient. So we're going to go with a 1/2 ounce orgeat. And if you don't hear someone pronouncing it orgeat, but pronouncing it orgeat, 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 anything, orgeat, anything along those lines, this is what they're talking about. They're talking about essentially an almond milk syrup. Now, for those of you that have allergies, particularly nut allergies, and you are in a tiki restaurant, so this is one of those cases that you have to be careful, because it will not necessarily say on the menu that this ingredient is made with almonds. It'll just list orgeat, O-R-G-E-A-T, and you should be aware that it has nuts in it, and that potentially could be triggering for your allergies. In fact, if you have a nut allergy, I would advise anytime you go into a tiki bar, because they do a fair amount with nut syrups, to ask your waiter specifically, let them know that you have a nut allergy, and ask about the cocktails that you're going to be drinking that night, just to be on the safe side. Okay, next ingredient, very bizarre for a tiki ingredient. One you don't see very often at all is Luxardo. So Luxardo is actually made from cherry pits, believe it or not. It doesn't have a great deal of actual cherry flavor to it. It's a nice balancer with the orgeat, though. And I may have to play around a little bit more with some orgeat and some Luxardo in the same cocktails. We're going to go half ounce here. It is a little on the sweet side, and it's the primary sweet component in things like, it's the aviation, I think, right? Yeah, the aviation has Luxardo in it. This is the primary sweetener, only sweetener in an aviation cocktail. Okay, next up, we have a combination of both lemon juice and lime juice. So we're going to do a half ounce of each. We have a little bit of both over here. You may have noticed I've gotten better. In past episodes, these two bottles would be filled up to like the 6-ounce line on both of them for one night's broadcast. And we just don't use that much lemon and lime juice in a single night. And I've been pretty good about our cocktailing, well, especially while we were sick, and not trying to use up the lemon and lime juice over the course of the week because, well, we didn't need that. So what I started doing is just cutting back on the amount of lemon and lime juice that I make for the broadcasts. Basically, what I'm trying to do is keep up with the freshness of the lemons and limes that we have in the house. That's all I'm really trying to do here. Okay, there is nothing blue about this drink so far. So as you have probably rightly divined by this point, there's going to be a healthy amount of blue curacao going into this. Ta-da, blue curacao. We're going to go a full half ounce of blue curacao. You'll notice there's nothing yellow in color going into this. So we're trying very hard not to get a green tint to this cocktail. Unfortunately, we do have to introduce some other color profiles to this, and one of them is going to be a brown color. And that is because this cocktail requires an amber rum agricole, which essentially means that you have taken a rum agricole, which is made straight from corn juice, so not corn syrup, not molasses. It's distilled corn juice, not corn. What am I saying? Sugar cane, sugar cane juice. Wow, got to listen to what I'm actually saying here. Excuse me, sugar cane juice is used as the distillate for this. And then in order to get the amber color, it's aged over wood, obviously. And that's where we get this amber color from. The amber color takes away a little bit of the overwhelming grassiness and some of that, I don't know, almost, it's not herbaceous, but I mean, it's plant matter flavor, straw-like kind of, that comes from the rum agricoles. A little bit of age takes care of that, and you want to back that off for this particular cocktail. So we're going to go 1 ounce of amber rum agricole. There are other restrictions on how it is made. Rum agricole is actually a French appellation indicating where it can come from and all sorts of restrictions on how it's made. The primary distinction here, though, is that it is made from sugarcane juice, not sugarcane syrup, not molasses. Okay, that's not the only rum that we're putting in this. The second rum has been traditionally a light rum. Well, what does light rum mean? So when I see light rum, I think column distilled, clean rum, very little aging on it. Often I will reach for my Angostura rums from Trinidad. Yes, Angostura makes bitters, but they also make their own rums. They make a few other things as well. In this case, though, we're going to go straight up American. We're going to reach back over for our Bacardi and do that again. We're going to go 1 ounce of this light rum. Oh, I know what my problem is this evening. Like, why are things so weirdly out of focus? I don't understand what's going on. That's because these guys are not really good for close-up work. So I've been wearing my glasses this entire time, and they've been messing with my eyesight, which is not, I repeat, not what your glasses are supposed to do. Okay, there you have it. That is the Marlin. It's a blue color, and we are going to put this in a snifter glass. Large snifter, large snifter. Here we go. We're going to use Archipelago's snifter glass here. We're going to shove some crushed ice in this and stick that under the spindle blender. Just like so. Flash blend, 5 seconds maybe. There you are. That is one blue drink. This is the Marlin. Right in there. Now, is it that vibrant blue that you would want from, in the red, white, and blue coloration? No, but it is about as close to that as you're going to get without doing something really vicious and horrible like serving up just an entire glass of blue curacao, which you do not want to do. If you wanted a little more blue to this, you could do a sort of a snow cone effect on the top of this and drizzle some blue curacao across the top. Do something along those lines. That would be awesome. It would be pretty. I'm going to go ahead and stick a straw in this.
You can put it on your light.
Oh, I should put it on the light. Yeah, that would be good, right? How about that? Can you see that? Does that show you kind of how blue that cocktail is? I don't know if you can tell. If I set this here, put this light behind it, does that help? I don't know. Nobody's telling me anything, so set that there. It shows. All right. So we're going to...
That says...
We need a straw in that.
Curacao. Why not Curacao? Why not?
What, Matt? We're just going to plead Malbec at this point.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to reach in. I've got all these straws here. All these straws from where? Surfside Sips. So, after all of this, I maybe should use a Surfside Sip straw. And so we're just going to use they do make plain ordinary straws. So this is just a glass straw. It's green in color. I don't have too many blue straws from them. And all of my blue straws are really long. They would be sticking out like this far from the glass. So we're just going to take the green straw and stick that in there. You can garnish this in any number of ways.
We were in Curacao in May.
Ah, they were in Curacao in May. Okay. Okay.
COVID there.
Got COVID in Curacao. This drink will not give you Caracas. It will not give you COVID. I pretty much guarantee that. So there you go. This is the Marlin. We did this drink way back on episode 7 of Quarantiki. So 108 episodes ago was the last time we did this particular cocktail. That is, that's pretty freaking delightful. The rum agricole really does come through. Oh, it's got a fantastic evolution on it. So just about the time you think you're done with the flavor profile of this cocktail, there's this wash of other flavor across the back end. I think, if I'm remembering the flavor profile from last time, we didn't get that real big wash of the rum agricole last time because we were using the Angostura.
Right.
And the Angostura rum has just a little more character than the Bacardi Silver does. The Bacardi Silver really lets the rum agricole stand out in this particular cocktail. Star's pretty happy with that. So there you go. 115th episode of this. This is July 4th weekend 2022. We've done a red drink called The Red, which is a riff off the Clover Club. We did a white drink, which is a riff off of sort of a club bar drink called the Creamsicle, and we're calling that either the white or the Puerto Rican Creamsicle, whatever you would prefer there. And then for a blue drink, we went into our past and we did the Marlin, which apparently I got 2 sips of, and that's how that's gonna go this evening. So I may have to make up another drink.
That looks lovely.
It is. It's
Jolene says.
Oh, the traditional garnish for that drink. I'm sorry. The traditional garnish for that drink is a couple of bright red maraschino cherries mixed with a couple of bright green maraschino cherries. I don't have any of those cherries here and don't want to have them here, so we're not going to be doing that for those. I could put higher end cherries in that if we really wanted to.
So Jolene has a question.
Actually, it would be appropriate because that has Luxardo in it to use Luxardo cherries for that. But yeah, that's okay. Jolene has a question.
Can you tell us more about the aerator you used in the last drink?
Yes.
Why instead of an egg white?
So the aerator. So I think in the last drink, you mean the Marlin, I assume. So the Marlin uses a spindle blender. This is just like any other household blender, except instead of just having the spinning dial at the bottom, it's like a milkshake blender. It's got the spindle, the spinny, little spinny aeration part is at the bottom. You can move the glass up and down and just bring some air into that. Generally, if you throw it into one of your traditional kitchen blenders, you don't have that access to the air, so you don't get quite as much aeration in the cocktail as you do with using a spindle blender. The spindle blenders have been a mainstay of tiki cocktails using crushed ice and flaked ice pretty much since the genre was invented. And
I'm sorry, from the Puerto Rican cream.
Oh, from the Puerto Rican cream. Why we used why we used heavy cream instead of using an egg white.
Yes.
Ah, okay. All right. So a couple of reasons. One, not everybody likes egg whites in their cocktails because you're using raw egg, and that can be problematic. And what you traditionally have in the egg white is you will develop a foam that will float on top of the cocktail. I mean, it certainly does emulsify a little bit with the cocktail and thickens the mouthfeel of the cocktail with the egg white in it, but you wind up with this foam that you're drinking through to get to the rest of the cocktail. So, which is very distinctive of the entire sour class of recipes, which the Clover Club is essentially a gin sour, except instead of using just some sort of sweetener, whatever form of sweetener, you're using raspberry syrup as the sweetener. For the creamsicle, we don't want that bi-level effect. We don't want it to separate out. And we're looking for a more unctuous mouthfeel across the entirety of the cocktail. So if you notice, this is the creamsicle. This is not separated at all. There's no foam on top of that. But the emulsification of the cream in there will capture some of the air that's in the shaker and will make this it gives it a heavier but also more airy mouthfeel. It's hard to explain, but it is not as thick as if you were, say, just drinking heavy cream. You know, a Kahlua cream, you know how heavy a Kahlua cream can be. Shaking the heavy cream in this way with some ice helps aerate it a little bit and just makes it a lighter cocktail, but still giving you that creamy mouthfeel that you want for something called a creamsicle. So there you go. That's what I can tell you about the difference between those two.
She hates egg white in drinks.
I would not. So you also notice that there is no citrus in the dreamsicle. If you were to put that amount of whipping cream or heavy cream in with a sour where you've got lemon juice or lime juice, now you're risking curdling, and that could be problematic. You can get around that in various ways. What is it? It's the drink that takes forever, the Ramos Gin Frizz. Actually uses heavy cream and egg white in it in order to get a really hyper-stable foam that, if done right, that foam will actually rise in a column up and over the glass. But you have to be careful about curdling of the milk anytime you're using some sort of sour, citrus sour with that. Any type of acid that you're putting in milk, you risk curdling. So you have to be really, really careful.
If you don't want egg white, you've got...
There are other options if you don't want to use egg white. The sort of the classic option for not using egg white is what's called aquafaba, which is if you take the juice out of a can of chickpeas and use that in the same proportion that you would have of your egg white or a little less, it will develop a foam kind of like an egg white. There is also this stuff which is made by Fee Brothers called Fee Foam, and that creates a foam as well. It does not do it anywhere near as well as an egg white does, but neither of those, the aquafaba nor the Fee Foam, have raw egg in them, or in fact any egg in them whatsoever. So this episode is apparently being brought to you by those people that have allergies to tiki drinks. So, right, if you have a nut allergy, if you are allergic to eggs, you just want to be careful about what you're ordering in a bar, and particularly tiki bars. But really, classic cocktails, a lot of them have egg whites in them, a lot of the sours and that sort of thing. So if you're allergic to eggs, be very, very careful about what you're ordering there, especially anything that says that it has a foam on it. There are other ways of achieving foam. Obviously, you can use a foaming canister, a CO2 charger, to create foam out of just about anything, and you just the foam on top of it. I was meaning to do that at some point. I have a foamer, a CO2 charger around here, and I keep meaning to use it. We bought it at a garage sale. I'm slightly leery of it, but we should give it a try at some point. Otherwise, it just sits around and looks pretty. Anyway, so any other questions? Thank you for those questions, Jolene. I don't get a chance to wax about the instrumentality of cocktails nearly as much as I might like to. So,
B5 foam.
Is that another Matt? Yes. How's the Malbec? What Malbec are you drinking, Matt? We'll get an answer from Matt eventually. He'll tell us what Malbec he's doing. I may have to make another one of these, the red cocktails, because I didn't get much of that one and I kind of liked it. And I think the sweet tartness of it will be a nice capper to this evening, since I'm apparently not getting any of the Marlin. So anyway, folks, I will talk to you next week. Wow, see, we ran over. I should have stopped talking earlier, but I didn't. Thank you for putting up with our last minute sound checks. I hope the sound has been better on this one. We still have no catchphrase, so the whole daggone good cocktails just seems cheesy, which I don't know. I've got plastic tentacles coming out of my bitters containers, so we are pretty cheesy around here. Wasn't there a cheese joke earlier on?
Yeah, Real and cheese.
Real and cheese, yes. So we'll harken back to the Royale with cheese. Nope, we're not going to go back to Pulp Fiction. I will talk to you all next week, where we will do more Quarantiki cocktails, because there's still people that are dealing with COVID, and as long as there are people dealing with COVID, we're going to keep calling this Quarantiki, I think. Either that, or we're just going to keep the name around because, you're stuck indoors, you need to drink, right? Okay, maybe you don't need to drink. If you have any ideas for future episodes, please let us know. But otherwise, this is Pooch and Star, my technical assistant and editor over there, who is in the process of putting these shows on YouTube. She's up to, I think, episode 42 or 43 at this point. So she's moving right along on that. We together are Lovecraft Cocktails. You can check us out on Facebook. You can check us out on Instagram. We have a YouTube page. But
Cheap Malbec.
Cheap Malbec. I see. Yes. Anyway, all right. We'll talk to you all next week. Have fun. Thank you all for tuning in. You make this worthwhile for me to do every week, and I appreciate it. I would just want to make sure you know that I appreciate you tuning in to see me standing behind my bar and playing around, making some cocktails for you. But once again, we are Lovecraft Cocktails. We love craft cocktails, and we love bringing them to you. So have a great evening. Have a great weekend. We'll see some portion of you next week or sometime in the future.